Welcome everyone to another one of Pep Talks. This is Pep Talks number 6, and I'm with a dear friend of mine, Adam, from the Primary History Workshops. How you doing, Adam?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. Yourself?
Really good, really good. So, Adam, I met you last year when you came to our school to give us a Tudor day, a wonderful day based around Shakespeare. So I know who you are, but for those people that don't know who you are, could you just explain a little bit about your little backstory? You've got about a minute.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm a 38-year-old primary teacher, basically. I've got a lovely family, got a little one, 3 years old. But really, the main thing is about me. I'm a massive history nerd. It comes from just a passion, a bit of a hobby for me, really. I'm part of various reenactment groups. I've always volunteered at various houses and things like that. Particularly interested in things like historical combat and getting stuck in and doing it. And yeah, a few years ago, I say a few, about 10 years ago, I started linking my primary teaching to my history passion. So the first thing I did was with a bunch of year fives, we reenacted the Battle of Bosworth in the hall. And I really enjoyed it. And really over my career, my hobby and my teaching has sort of linked together. And now I spend half of my week going around doing these history workshops, which I've got to say, I love. I really love. It's a dream come true.
Yeah, well, I know from first hand how enjoyable the workshops are, Adam, because you came to our school. I was a bit concerned about the weapons.
Well, you'd be happy to know no injuries to date, which I'm happy about, and it will remain that way.
Now, Adam, I looked on your website, and I did ask you earlier on, how do you pronounce your name? And you quite clearly said Hatfield.
On social media, I'm often on as Adam Chapeauchamp, and it's basically a very bad French translation of hat, chapeau, sham, field.
Well, Adam, I was fortunate enough to meet you at school, and then we had a lovely meeting in Tamworth a few weeks ago, a coffee shop, well, before the shutdown, with my wife and I. And Paula and I are both graduated historians, so I've got a real vested interest in history. I love history. But my first question to you, Adam, is why is history so important?
I think it's because there's history in everything. Literally everything we look into, whether we're looking at the history of people or items or traditions. And just by knowing some of that history, we know where we came from and why things happened, why decisions are made. So if I look around me at the moment, I've got a cup of tea here, which is a big British staple, but it isn't the fact that that just happened by accident. A couple of 100 years ago, East India Tea Company, the government made more money off taxes on tea, so therefore they got the British public to drink a lot more tea because they could make more money and promoted tea time. But now I don't think about that every time I have a cup of tea, but I still get out of bed, walk downstairs and put the kettle on for a cup of tea every day. And that's because 200 years ago, an empire was built over taking other people's goods and making money out of it. And it's just part of our history, but it's embedded into every single thing we do throughout the day.
Wonderful. Well, just as you said tea there, and obviously with the pair of us, we're both history nerds. If you remember, China was the one that produced the tea for all the tea in China. But then they found out that in India, within the Raj, they could actually produce it cheaper. So obviously that's why the tea moved to India. And again, the other side of the world in Stoke-on-Trent, Josiah Wedgwood, posh people used to drink out of China cups. And again, he wanted to make earthenware cups, and he tried different ways to get this sort of cheap white china. So just there for a cup of tea, you've got two fantastic topics. So
I'm reading a great book at the moment called History of the Unexpected. And the chapter I've just read is on beards, and it's the history of beards. It's great. It goes from everything from why Henry VIII introduced a beard tax to linking to Edward Teach and how he used his flaming piratey beard. And he basically weaponized his beard to scare people off and stuff like that. And literally anything you look at, you can find something interesting, something that interests me anyway, history-wise.
Even in the last, if you think about our own culture in the last 50 years, you can chart history by hairstyles. Obviously, the Beatles had a little bob. Then you had the sort of flower power, which was long hair in the 60s. Then you had the glam rock. Then you had the punk. Then you had skinheads. Then you had, like, you know, Spandau Ballet. And so, yeah, even down to Oasis with a certain head. So you could actually you could chart history through haircuts. So.
You can certainly do it through my old school photos in the same way.
Well, hey, what, brother? You're rocking a fantastic haircut today, mate.
Yeah, it'd be a full mohawk, but it's a bit thin here now. So
listen, we can only see it from the front, mate. So that looks ace.
That's right.
Yes, hard question: why is history important? But yeah, you've certainly answered that one, mate. So, right, the next question, Adam. It's a sort of double-edged sort of question. And first of all, do we teach the correct history in school, and do we teach history the correct way?
It's really difficult to say that every primary teacher is going to teach history in exactly the same way, because everyone's different, and that's what makes us awesome. You've got your different passions. The history curriculum itself, it gives you the options now to choose different things. So I know having local history is an important thing, so that you know what happened around you, and there'd be people in living history possibly that you could speak to at different times that could help with that as well. So things back to the Iron Age and Stone Age, there's the fact that you can pick up any topic really and roll with it. There's the material there to do it. It's whether schools have the confidence to build a history curriculum for themselves that reflects that.
For those people that don't know you as well as I, what part of the world are you from, and how would your local history reflect where you're from? What sort of history would you be into, judging where you come from?
Certainly for me, I grew up in Wolverhampton. I live in Birmingham now, but my very first job out of school was at Blists Museum. I was a handyman, so I rocked up in the morning and I put some Victorian clothes on. I was given a tool belt, and I was sent to work, and I did everything from chopping wood to nicking bread from the bottom of the shops to deliver up to other people that had cheekily requested it. And I cleaned out the pigs. I built the odd goat pen and stuff, which as a 17-year-old obviously fell down because I had no skills in Victorian building whatsoever. But that was the kind of thing that got me into it. But knowing about sort of the Victorian era and about things that went on and sort of the industrial side of it and stuff like that certainly sparked my interest. And we're looking at our areas. You have got places like Bliss Hill, and you've obviously got the Black Country Museum as well. And I think those are really valuable resources for schools in this area because they're easy to get to. They're huge sites with brilliant buildings in. You've always got a lot of reenactors and staff that work there that are passionate and will talk you to death if you give them a chance about what's passionate for them.
The back-to-backs in Birmingham was another National Trust property, another wonderful place to visit.
Absolutely. I spend most of my bank holidays, I work for free at Harvington Hall, I have a Kidderminster way, and we do multi-period history there. I do a bit of everything really, whatever I can get away with, just because it's a great opportunity to talk to public, talk to kids in a beautiful historic building. They've got lawns big enough for me to shoot bows, set guns off, do whatever I fancy doing really. And it's that kind of thing that I think really captures people's attention. Which links directly to my business, why I set it up, because I'd rather hear about a bow and arrow from someone who is standing in front of me shooting a yew-long bow and is proficient in using it than maybe someone who's got a book on it, who's just telling you in a dry, dull way they've never seen one, pick one up, or know which way to use it.
So Adam, I can see you're absolutely passionate about your history, and for you I can imagine it's an easy thing to do to inspire children within a lesson. Can you give us like top 3 tips to help them along their way?
First and foremost, you've got to get the kids to understand when chronologically that period was. The best way to do that is to capture their attention with like physical artifacts are brilliant, pictures, drama, role play. A child will it automatically link with a World War II squaddy if they've got a rifle in their hand and a hat on. So the first one is, I would say, capture their imagination, get them in there, get a really good visual picture in their heads of the time that you're studying. Second one is have your content and your skills base. Yeah, facts, basically. Facts, things that happen, dates, remembering stuff, because that's where it can get dull and boring if you haven't got the other stuff to back it up. But once you've got that fact base built up, you've then got to look at those historical skills. So things like looking at comparisons, looking at things with chronology in mind again, looking at getting them to put themselves in the shoes of that Victorian child and feel how they would have felt if they were male or female, or get them to seriously realise and consider what it would be like to be there.
Tell me that story. I love you when you say you go in, if you're teaching Victorians, what's one of the physical things you actually teach the children, which I think is a great idea?
Oh, I mean, most average class has got about 30 children, say 5 tables, 6 on the table or something like that. Really, you can look at that. 12 of those in a year 4 class in the Victorian period would be dead. Right. So I'll point out quite clearly to the kids, don't worry, if you're on these 3 tables, you're alive, but I'm sorry, by this age, you 2 tables, you're completely dead. Just by being blunt, but also playful and not too scary. Yeah. They quickly realise, well, whoa, this is not a time I would have actually wanted to live in.
Yeah, that table there, you'll be in a workhouse. That table there, you're probably dead by the time you're 20. You might live to your 40 if you're lucky. But finally, how important would you say is for that homeschool link between, the parents and the school to promote the history and the love of the history?
If as a teacher you can plant the seed and give them an idea, I would then say the way they really develop those skills independently can be done at home. So it's going to visit different places. School trips are expensive because of the amount of money with sending a coach out. But if you can get families to go out to different places, or simply read books together, or have a go at making something at home, it doesn't have to cost money. That's where you sort of develop that passion. I know certainly when I teach children about making Stone Age tools, for example, the amount of children that then send me pictures of the ones that they've done at home, and literally you need a stick, a bit of string and some rocks. How practical they would be, I don't know, but it's the fact that they've got the passion and learning to then go and do it themselves. And that's what keeps them as historians and keeps them going. And that's where I came from. I was the kid that went home and looked at history books.
Your 2 key words are there, curiosity and passion. And if you've got both of them in abundance, the history becomes so simple. So Adam, sadly, it's getting to that time. We're getting towards the last question. I've seen you in action in one of your workshops, and it was superb, hence the reason we're doing this interview now. Just say there's a head teacher out there that wants to get you into their school to work with the children. Tell me, what do you offer? What periods of history do you do? What year groups or key stages is it with?
No problem. All my workshops I do for Key Stage 2, so year 3 to year 6. I cover Stone Age, Anglo-Saxon, Viking, Tudor, and World War II currently. Throughout all of those, I can cater for up to 90 children. So it could be that you've got a large school and you want to do all of year 5, 3 form entry, or it could be that you've got a single form entry school and you want to get year 3, 4, and 5 in there. That's absolutely fine. With those, I give various activities throughout the day. So I make sure all the children are busy from the time they're stepping in the morning until the time that they leave. Some are teacher-led. When I set up the business, I had this plan that they were going to be unicorn days. So rare that they just don't happen. For teachers, I want the teacher to be able to walk into school on that day, make himself a cup of tea, sit down, and do as little as possible, even to the point that I've got trolleys to bring the stuff in and out. I want them to have a really easy day. They've earned it, let's face it. All the resources, everything that I hand out, I even provide whiteboard pens so that you haven't got to do anything during the day whatsoever.
As a teacher myself, it's great the fact I can have a unicorn day and I can have a cup of tea and that. But I have seen the workshop you did with us, I think it was something to do with the Battle of Bosworth. You have got some weapons there. So You'd need a bit of adult support when the weapons come out, wouldn't you?
Of course, yeah. And if we're looking at things like the weapons, here's a lovely Viking sword. I make sure that all of the items we've got are always filed down, so they're always completely blunt. But the main thing we do, I talk to the kids straight away about how to handle the item. Never had an accident, never had an incident where a child's been hurt, and that's because when they get a chance to hold something like this, they instantly treat it with respect. And as I say, I've been over hundreds of schools now, and touch wood, everything's all good so far.
Obviously, all your details, Adam, we're going to put on a slide at the end, and obviously I'll have them running below us now. If you look, you can see them now. Finally, the last question. I've got a quote for you, Adam. I think it was Theodore Roosevelt famously said, "The more you know about the past, the better you'll be prepared for the future." What do you think about that?
I mean, let's face it, it completely rings true. We learn some of our, as teachers and as students, you learn your best mistakes by doing things wrong. So really, we can look back at our ancestors and learn from them. Very early on, if someone ate the red berries and they died, you'd learn from the history of that person and not eat the red berries.
There'll be a little boy or a little girl out there, "Oh, Mum, we had this history man come into school," and you don't know what little seeds you've planted, or the love that you've fostered, the love of history. But like you say, mate, we're brothers united in that. So it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Yeah, thank you so much for being honest and frank with me.
No worries.
Listen, mate, like I said, all your details are on here afterwards, that people can get in touch with you. I'll have your email address on there, your link to your Facebook. It's just been an absolute pleasure. Adam Chapeauchamp.
Hatfield.
Yeah, Adam Hatfield. So it's Adam Hatfield and Pep the Poet signing off, mate. Until the next time, my friend, take care and God bless.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. He's a good man, Adam. I like him a lot. He's a really good guy. So if you've watched this video on YouTube, would you do me an enormous favour? Could you, at the bottom, could you give me a like? And if you could subscribe to my channel, one, you'll be able to get some of my other Pep the Poet videos and my other pep talks. But I'm trying to raise my my subscription level. If you could do that for me, I'd really, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.